Okay. So last sessions we have started the ADO.NET activity. Okay, ADO.NET applications. Let us know if you are facing any audio issues and the screen sharing issues. Okay, you can talk immediately if you are facing someone issues. Okay, so I will continue. Yesterday session, we have seen the how we are creating a database. Okay, what is the use of MDF file and DF files? Okay, how we can create the tables, the columns. Okay, so today we can perform the next activity. Okay, by using store procedure, how we can insert the data. Okay, so last sessions we have just created the application by using the three tier architecture. Okay, and we are posting the data for here the sign up users. Okay, so I will create the newly create applications. I will create a separate solution. Okay, it's a separate project for this session also. I will create as a blank solution here, clicking on the next buttons. Okay, and I will create a project applications, or we can give the name, the some names of the project, and the project name called as a core orbit. Okay, I will give the name called as a core orbit, and click on the create buttons. Okay, so I have created the blank solution here. I will add a few projects for the user interface, business logic layer, and some data access layer and the domain layers. Just you can follow, guys. Okay, the main project core orbit dot UI. Just click on the create buttons. Okay, this is the user interface project. I will add the new project called as a class library here. Business access layer. Click on the next button, create. So this is the another project we have created. I will add new project for the data access layer. Click on the next buttons. Who is ABC? So we are adding the data access layers. Okay. So I will add one more project that is called as a domain core orbit dot domains. Add new project, class library, core orbit dot domain. So first things, like as we discussed last sessions, we need to create the register sign up forms where we are posting the data from client application. Client we can build on the MVC applications. Okay, so we have creating one bad layers, bad layers. And inside the bad layers, we are putting the all business logic interfaces where we are communicating to our service. Service we can put inside the data access layers. Okay, inside the data access layer, we can just call the store procedure via ADO.NET. Okay, just we are creating these four layers. Actually, the three layer is the business access layer, data access layer, user interface, and the domains. Inside the domains, we are creating the some entities. Okay, last sessions we have created a table called as a user details. Inside the user details, we have created a few column that is the user detail ID, username, password, description is active, created by, created on, updated by, updated on. Okay, so same entity we are putting into these tables. Okay, I'm adding the name called as a entity, and inside the entity I will create one class called as a user details. Inside the user details we need to call the some business entity over here, that is called as a prof string username. You can copy this the same field for the password, because we are keeping the password data in a string format, and the descriptions. Okay, so now if you go to the database again, and we can see the how many business entities, username, password, description is our business entities. Okay, we need to create one more class that is called as a base audit entity. So I will create here for the separate class for the generic entities, that is called as a base audit entity. So inside that class, we will create some generic or common properties, and that class we can inherit into the main entities. Okay, which are the common entities? Like I will put as a public integer created by get set. Then we need to call public date time created, or it should be not nullable. We required some mandatory data because it's audit entity. Always we can keep the data inside this tables. Like why we required? Because we need to maintain the audit history about our applications, the forms updated by, and here updated on. Okay, and we required one more columns. Which column we required here? The public booleans is active. Okay, clean the namespaces. Call this class into a main domain entities here as inheritance. We are implementing the inheritance by using the colons. Okay, so this is our domain layer should be ready. You can compile this domain project. Okay, and you can add the reference this domain project into the business access layers. Okay, the next steps we need to create the one interface. Okay, so I can create the one method called new folder called as interfaces, and inside that interfaces I will create a class or interface here. The interface name called as a I I register service. Okay, so inside this register service I will mark this as a public interface, and I will make one method here, public integer, the method name called as a create, and we need to pass the models. What is our model name? The user detail is our model name, where we are bringing the all data from the our client applications. Okay, so here I am adding this as a parameters. So we need to add the reference of this domain project, which is we have created a separate. Remove the unused namespaces, clean codes. Okay, this is our interface where we are handling the create methods. Okay, now we need to go to the service project DAL access layer project where we are, if you see here, inside the DAL layer, we need to create one folder that is called as a services. Inside the services, we need to add a new class called as a register service. Okay. So inside this register service, we need to inherit which class? I register service. And this project we have created here, it should be a compile first before adding the references. We need to compile this I register service where we are passing the create methods. Okay. Just recompile again, build the solutions. Yeah, will succeed. Okay. Now coming to the DAL project. Okay. Inside the DAL project, we need to add a reference of your file access layers. Okay. So we need to remove this unused namespaces, and we required some implementation of your methods. How we can implement? Just we can create this the method inside the public and implement the course. Okay. Now I will return as a once. First, we need to put the try catch. Okay. Here I am putting the try catch exception. Okay. Inside the try catch, we required some store procedure call. Okay. So we need to call the some audio.NET code over the here. Okay. So how we are creating a connections, command and the other steps. Okay. So I will put the class called as a SQL connections. So, like we need to resolve some dependencies. If we are using the SQL connections, we require the package that is called as a Microsoft dot data dot SQL client. Okay, this namespace which is maintained by the Microsoft. So we need to add the reference of that dependency in a DAL layer, because DAL layer is the taking the responsibility to connect the SQL Server database. Okay, so here we have a class called as a SQL connections. We need to create the object of that class, and inside that class we have a constructor. Okay, parameterized constructor. That is, we need to pass as a string, as a connection string. Okay, so inside the connection string we need to pass the server details where we are creating a database or maintaining the database. Okay, I will put the server name called as a dot. Okay, you can mention your server name directly, or computer name or local host. Okay, I will connect through the Windows authentications. There are two type of authentication where we are communicate or login in a SQL server by using SQL authentication and Windows authentication. If I am selecting a type that is called as a SQL authentications, then that case we require the parameter username and the password. If I am selecting the SQL authentication type as a Windows authentication, then that case username and the password is not mandatory. Okay. The second parameter I have put the server is equal to dot. The second parameter I will put as a database is equal to the database name which we have created as a batch 05. I will put here. And the third parameter we need to mention the integrated security. Okay, as a true, and trust server certificate. Okay, that is also we can put as a true. So we can keep this as a connection string. Okay. So for the Windows authentications, we required these are the parameters mandatory. We can change the values at runtimes if we are facing any issues. Okay. So first steps, we have created the object of SQL connections. Then we need to open the connections. Okay. When we are entering a data into a tables. Okay. The third parameters we required that is called as a SQL command. Okay, we need to create the command. So inside the command, we need to pass the store procedure name. If you see, There are two parameters here. We need to pass new SQL command. Okay. If you see there are multiple parameters, we need to pass as a command text or SQL connections. Okay. So I will put the create user or create user. Okay. The store procedure name called as a create user. We can create the store procedure as well. Just put the server store procedure name and you can pass the object of your connection. So con is the our object where we are putting the all server configurations here the con object. Okay. Then we need to pass cmd dot command type. Okay. Is equal to command type dot store procedure. Okay. So the second namespace we required here using system dot data. Okay, why we required this namespace system dot data? Because this command type we have that belongs to the data library. Okay, why we are mentioning? Because we have mentioned the store procedure. So we need to mention the our SQL server. We are not executing the raw SQL query, we are executing the store procedures. Okay, we can create the two-way this ADO.NET code by using the raw query as well as the store procedure. Best practice if you are going with the ADO.NET, don't use the inline queries, okay, which we have seen the last application. What is the disadvantages if we are maintaining the inline query? If in futures, if we need to maintain the or change the some parameter names or the table names, okay, we need to require the code deployment. Okay, so that is the major challenges if we are putting the inline queries. Always we can go with the store procedures because without any code changes, we can maintain the store procedure code changes, okay, handle the validation part. Okay, so that is the purpose. We can select the store procedure option is the best option to create the ADO.NET command. Okay, the third parameters we need to put. Okay, if we are passing the create user as a store procedure, then we require to pass the some parameters. Okay, so we have an option called as a cmd dot parameters dot add weight values. Okay, the first parameter we are passing that is called as a username. Okay, and we need to pass the values which is coming from our controller. So here we need to pass as a usernames. Okay, so this is the values we need to pass as a we need to put accurate because it's a naming conventions. Okay, so we need to pass the all parameters which is we required inside the store procedures. So now we are adding here just control C, username, password, description is active, created by, created on, updated by, updated on. Just we need to change the some values here. We need to put as a password, we need to put as a password. Then third parameters, we need to put as a description. Okay, and here also we need to map the description field parameters. Then the fourth parameters we require the is active. Okay, so here we will pass the hardcore record now as a true because we are not maintaining the checkbox now on from the UI. Then the third parameters we need to put as a created by. Okay, here also we can pass as a one hardcode now. Then the created on. Here also we can pass the current date times. Okay, then updated created on. Then the second last parameters we require that is who has updated this record. So tracking purpose we are passing this audit entities. Here also we can pass one as a hard code because for now we can pass the hard code data. When we are starting the actual project, we can give the other token values. We can read the data from token values, okay, tokens, and from extract that tokens as user ID, and we can pass here. Okay, so now we have pending for the token part. So now updated on, and here also I can pass the current date times. Then this is the second steps we need to pass as a parameters, and here we need to execute this store procedure. So how we are executing, we need to create a method or call a method called as a cmd dot execute non-query. Okay, so this is the 5 line of codes we need to return here. Okay, so now we have created a method, create method. Inside the dal layer we have a method called as a create also. Okay, now we need to go to our main project where we need to create the controller. So I will create a new controller called as a register controller. Click here, register controller. Inside the register controllers, we need to create a one simple page where we are maintaining the sign up page. Okay, I will put the same names for this particular page. Okay, I will create a some div where the first row as a class as a row. Then I will divide the two category for this particular page. First category, we can display the all existing users, okay, sign up users, and we can create a new user as well. Okay, so I will put a class called as a 6 columns. So I will put as a call MD6, where we are putting the list parameters listing. And the second parameters we can pass as a forms. So here I will put as a H4 a register here. Then I will create a form element. Inside the form elements, I will create actions, okay, where we need to write controller name called as a register, the method called as a create. So I will pass as a create. Okay. The second parameters we need to put as a type. Sorry, method is equal to post. Okay, now we required some element here, div element, where we are putting the label, and I will put as a user name. We can mark as a mandatory field as well here, and we need to put the class text danger. Okay, and another that is required, input type is equal to text, class is equal to form controls, and we have a name that is called as a username for the DB bindings. Okay, so this is the first control we have created. Now second controls we need to create, okay, for the password. So I will change some here. The password is also mandatory. Okay, the third parameter is called as a description. And here also it's not mandatory. So it's only 10 minutes. It's a description. So we can put that this form here. Now I will create one action methods inside the register controllers like this. and I will put HTTP post. Okay. So this is the HTTP post method. Here we need to pass user details. So we need to pass the reference of the domain project. Okay. So inside this object, we need to pass the data from the our client application, which is built up on the our MVC application. So here we need to create the constructor to inject our service. Okay. So where we have created the service inside the I register service. Okay. So we need to create one constructor here to resolve the some dependencies. Here we require the private read-only variables. Okay. I register service. So here also we need to resolve the some dependencies. Okay. So I will add the references of bad layers, and here I put as a register service. So here also we need to put, okay, perfect. And we need to put the dependency here is equal to this one. And here we need to put this register service dot create methods, okay, where we have created, and we required some parameters that is called as user details. Okay, here we need to get the data like return view. After inserting the data, we need to call the index views again. I will put the debugger here. Before that, I will create the store procedure. How we are creating a store procedure? We need to go to the program menus and click on the store procedure, right click on the store procedure, create the store procedure name called as a create user, and some we required a parameter that is called as a username. Okay, and we need to put the character, the database character here as per the table definitions. As we have mentioned, username we have put the varchar the 50, so we can match the same character length here also in the parameters. The second parameters we require the passwords. Okay, so we need to put as a varchar the password we have 25. The third parameters we require the aggregate descriptions. And for the descriptions, we are putting the n varchars 250. Then we have the is active. We need to pass as a bit parameters. So if I'm declaring a bit, we not required to specify the length of size. Okay. Then we have the created by, we have integer. I will put as a created on, we have date time. Then we have updated on and updated by. Okay, so here we need to create the some store procedure, the insert statement. So this is the store procedure syntax: create procedure, procedure name, and we need to pass the parameter which is coming from the our backend service. Okay, here we need to put the insert statement. Okay, what is the insert statement? Insert user details. Okay, values, and values from we are passing, this is the parameters. The first parameter we need to pass username, second parameter we need to pass as a password. Okay, the third parameter we are passing as a description, the fourth parameter is active. So that way we need to pass, because we are creating a fully recorded tables, so we need to pass the all parameters. Okay. Now we can execute the store procedure. The store procedure was created. Okay. The same name we have applied here in the DAL layers inside the register service, create users. Okay. So now in the program.cs files, the last steps, we need to resolve some dependencies. How we are resolving the dependencies? Builder dot. So we need to compile the DAL project. Just compile it. Yeah. So here builder dot services dot add transit, and here we need to put the some dependencies I register service, and we need to put as a register service. Okay, so register service, we need to add the reference of register service, which is our DAL project. Okay, and here is we need to resolve some dependencies. Now we have a register controller. In a layout page, we need to add one menu. If you go to the views shared folder layout page, here instead of privacy, we need to create as a register. The controller name we have given as a register, and the action name we have given as a index. Sorry, I have put the debugger here inside the register controller. I will run the applications. Okay, just this form is opening here. Register. Here we have putting the controls. I will create as a test record. The password is a test description. We have not created a button, so I will stop the applications. We required some div tag element. Input type is equal to submit. So this is a button. So we need to apply the button class btn success, and the value is equal to submit. Okay, I will run the again. Okay, so this is the forms we have created. Test, test. Click on the submit buttons. The data, all data are coming here. Test. I will F10 press. I will jump inside the services. All data coming here. Okay. So I will execute the connections. Keyword not supported. Integrated security. If you see the INTE spelling mistake is there. So I will stop the applications. I will put the debugger here instead of the transaction forms. I will remove this, continue. So F10, again extra space is required. Sorry, I have